No. That face,
Shit.
bro.
But it's all I've got.
What is
Like
that
some-
face, bro? Fuck is that? Looks like an alien. What the f? Let's see, what the f is it?
Halt! Who are you? What are you doing here?
Put your gun down. Who are you, and what's going on here?
Leave the loner alone. He killed the beast that drove my brothers insane.
Shut up.
What?
Stalker 2 is one of those games that I genuinely never thought I'd actually be playing. And yet, here we are with the long-awaited and much-anticipated sequel to one of gaming's all-time most niche series. A game that survived through both a pandemic and a literal war to be here, letting you play as everyone's favourite treasure hunters and venture back out into the infamous zone. And I'd say that GSC Game World have succeeded in one very important way, in the way that this is definitely a Stalker game. That being in the sense that it's challenging, depressing, and an often gorgeous journey through what's more or less a post-apocalyptic hellhole.
That's good.
But then also much like a Stalker game, it's often buggy, glitchy, unenjoyable, tedious, and then just outright broken at
What time was Stalker made on? Why is there a vector?
times.
Remember how we ventured? You shouldn't have wandered over here, man.
What? What the fuck?
That's bad.
Get one thing very clear right off the bat, okay? This is not a game that's likely to win over any new fans. That is to say, if you didn't like the old ones, well, then this probably ain't gonna change that. In fact, it's unabashedly old school in that regard, using a very similar inventory system, with a lot of gear also being identical in regards to your healing items, the drinks, and food. You'll still swill down vodka to remove radiation, you'll scull an energy drink to get your stamina back up, and it's so much processed meat that it's kind of a wonder you haven't had a stroke. Even the sound effects are the exact same ones.
Bro, the vector is pissing me off. But like, why the fuck is there a vector in the game? Why? Not only it doesn't fit, but it also doesn't make any sense why. Like, goddamn, dude. And I think it's a 9mm
The old
one.
games.
Ми не домовлялися щодо оплат.
Which is the one that came later, I believe. What the f, dude?
So, people who love this series and appreciate what they do so well are going to find a lot to love here in Stalker 2. Everyone else, though, well, I'm not entirely sure.
I don't want to get it dirty anyways. Can I go now?
And I just kind of feel like unless you got a basic understanding of
Yeah.
exactly what GSC are
That's
going for
crazy.
with this series, well, Stalker 2 is going to be a pretty damn miserable experience. But then again, like, even if you are, that still might be the case.
I'm watching you, chump.
So, let's talk about the story first. The gist is that you're playing as a dude named Skiff, heading into the outskirts of the zone with
Skiff.
some kind of a scanner to perform a bunch of tests. However, before he's able to finish, he's soon detected by the Ward, who are sort of like a new authority force that reside in the area, who are then also attacked by an unseen culprit,
Oh,
ending
fuck?
in Skiff almost being captured and left out there in the wilderness. When he wakes up, he strolls into the nearest town and then starts trying to find the whereabouts
part
of
of
his
the game?
scanner, along with still having to
That's
deal
not
with
what
the
I mean.
Ward, who are very pissed off because a bunch of their men were killed during that attack. This instantly sets up this whole faction dynamic between them and the other Stalkers, forcing Skiff to decide pretty early on which group he's going to side with. And throughout the course of the game, you get to make some pretty big decisions when it comes to who you're going to work with.
Nope, nothing so far.
All of which no doubt affect the ending, but also how ensuing missions are going to play out. Even outside of the story, though, it seems almost every single encounter or side
Thank you,
mission gives you the
immortalized.
option to either end things diplomatically or just kill everyone instead.
Tell me more about this Shach guy.
Now, Stalker 2's got English dialogue turned on by default, which I find incredibly odd, you know, considering where the game's set.
Holy
And hearing people
bro.
talk with what sounds like British accents in the middle
I used to slope. God, this is a slope. What the hell?
of Ukraine is just kind of bizarre.
The Ward asked the questions around here. The rest of you just smile and nod, or keep your mouths shut. About face, Stalker.
I mean, like, I get that a lot of time's passed since that original incident, so it would make sense that people from a bunch of different countries have all traveled to the zone for their own different reasons.
I'm watching you, chump.
But it still does sound kind of weird
Bro, you know what I wish? I wish there was a game where they stop using soft language. I think. Like, there are games like this one where it feels so off. Like, you see these guys and they're talking, like, they're about to tell you to shut the fuck up or get the fuck out of here. And they say, hey, watch it. I'm watching you, chum. It just feels so off.
Hearing everyone speaking in English, as well as the fact that the voice acting is often just flat out terrible. I mean, goddamn son, this stuff is really not good.
But
I
you
can
are a
see it.
stalker, right? You wander into that crap every day, detector in hand, trading artifacts for hooch.
We're talking Elder Scrolls Oblivion tier, and it is kind of funny to a point, but then it just starts to become immersion breaking.
Now, this is getting interesting.
The only real advantage you get from English dialogue is that you can hear the enemies shouting out their strategies during combat, which gives you a bit of a hint as to what they're planning. But still, like, my advice, first and foremost, is to turn that shit off and change it to Ukrainian. I mean, like, it might still be bad, but at least I can't understand what they're saying, so they get the benefit of the doubt.
Do you have to be so stubborn?
Oh yeah, and while you're there in the options menu, turn off that crosshair as well. Either way, though, the story here quickly starts to become scrambled and a bit incoherent. We've skipped.
Oh, this is so in Ukraine.
Ну, привет. Ну,
Wait, this shit's 2 years ago, what? I don't think that's a game. Can somebody try to find it on Ukrainian? Because I can't fucking find it. Just cutscenes, not the trailer, cutscenes.
Just being sent here, there, and
Oh, I want to
everywhere.
say like in-game cutscenes. Like besides the good ones they put on the trailer. Like your average, you know. I like this shit.
Having to kill someone, or find a document, or activate some kind of machinery in this never-ending quest that just seems to go on and on. And then there's all these moments when you think that things are about to come to an end, like during some kind of ultimate battle or sequence, only for it to then slow back down again and give you like another dozen missions to complete. GSC have said that like a first-time playthrough is going to take anywhere from 35 to 40 hours to complete. And if you want to try and do like every little side task and mission on the map as well, then it's going to be upwards of 100. And the side missions do help at least in terms of the world building, with you getting to meet some really interesting characters and all that kind of stuff.
It's not exactly hot shit, but it's all I've got.
Like some poor asshole whose brother's been killed in an anomaly field.
What the f***? It's not face,
Shit,
bro.
but it's all I've got.
What is
Like
that
some-
face, bro? The fuck is that? Looks like an alien. What's the 7th? Jesus Christ, man. Is this what you guys go through? I'm so sorry for you.
Притяг. Ну, я не думав, що залізко такого цінного гостя притяг. Якщо ти заради нього скакати готовий, то що зроблять інші? Тому я спитаю те, що не спитав за першої нашої зустрічі. Чого ти вирішив, що припершись сюди, ти підеш живим?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it was still better.
Може. Терекону тепер важко доведеться. Пахани не зрозуміють, якщо тут
That feels like the voice. That was the voice lines from like, you know, this old TV channel that didn't get like as many views as like the mainstream channels on the TV, and they were kind of like more like a local thing. That's kind of vast, like half done.
Терекону тепер важко доведеться. Пахани не зрозуміють, якщо тут ніхто з ними перетерти не зможе.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's kind of lame. But this guy looks like an alien.
Poor asshole whose brother's been killed in an anomaly field.
Just cause look at the shape. What the f is that, dude? Real, what is the? That looks like a fucking alien. That looks like a fucking alien. The eyes should be like here. What the fuck is this? That's fucking stupid, bro. What the fuck, man?
So he wants you to go out there and rescue the dude's corpse, getting in his good books even further if you agree not to loot the corpse. And yeah, like these kind of missions are interesting and give you a bit of a reason to linger around these smaller sections just that little bit longer. But the payoff for most of these just ain't all that great in my experience. And all the gear and the cash that you get from the story missions is far superior.
If you ever swing by the flea market, give me a holler.
Oh yeah, like considering that the story alone is supposed to take upwards of 30 hours, I don't know, it just kind of made me want to engage in all this science stuff even less.
Good. Okay. Maybe you know something I don't.
I think that the OG Stalker fans are going to ultimately appreciate what's going on here though, and there is some cool little throwbacks here and there to the old games as well. Like getting to revisit Garbage and see how the whole thing looks nowadays, as well as seeing the remnants of the Monolith faction and how these guys are all coping. There's references to Clear Sky, and at a few points you even get to hear Strelok's name mentioned too, which never failed to give me goosebumps on my arms and balls.
Shut up!
But this is a story that takes a whole lot of time to get going, man, and even when it's going, like, that pace is kinda glacial. How about the fact, for instance, like they thought it was a good idea to have the prologue set at nighttime, where all you're doing is running around and popping down that scanning device for like half an hour. These earlier parts do kind of serve as a basic tutorial, I get it, but other than that, it's just pretty uneventful and unexciting. And the most interesting part in this whole sequence you have no control over. Which, you know, not only doesn't really communicate what kind of game this is going to be, but also completely undersells the visuals and the presentation right off the bat. Remembering like Crisis 3, how the game opened up with this great looking thunderstorm, before then showing you that gorgeous sunrise, really emphasizing how the graphics were going to play a key part in the overall experience. Yeah, well, in Stalker 2, you're just running around a pitch black forest at night time. Oh yeah, and keep that word in the back of your mind too, running, because that's going to come up a whole lot here.
From that day on, if I was going somewhere, I was running.
Now, outside of the story and the dialogue,
I can understand it if, like, the rest of the game is slow, but the graphics are really good, and they're undervaluing that only good selling point they have. If that makes sense. Like, they're trying, I guess, to, like, this other stuff that is actually dog shit, and they put the good stuff, like the graphics, on the background, when you should, like, put the graphics on top, because that's gonna be the biggest selling point. Everything else, from what I'm saying, is pretty ass. So yeah, that's what I think is saying is happening, and I can agree.
Stuff, the core aspects in Stalker 2 is broken down into either combat or then exploration and artifact hunting. There's a lot of familiar looking weapons returning here, from all the various AKs through to sawn-off shotguns and rifles, with the player really only ever being able to carry around like a couple at a time, mostly due to the incredibly limited backpack capacity. And every little thing you pick up in this game has a bit of weight to it, even individual stacks of ammo. So you really need to think about what you're actually taking with you before venturing out. Artifact hunting, which has always played a crucial role in the entire series, returns here as well. However, it feels this time like it's been totally fucked over, using a similar system to the one in Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat. Now, most of these are going to be found inside the larger anomalies, however, they're invisible until you're basically standing on top of them. So what you end up doing is throwing out this infinite supply of metal bolts to cause the nearby anomalies to activate, giving you a few precious seconds to run past them and then try to find that specific spot that the artifact's hiding. And yeah, like, it's a solid concept in principle, forcing you to go into the belly of the beast, quite literally, navigating past certain death to find the sweet spot where these things are hidden, only for them to then have the most useless and inconsequential benefits, really making you wonder why you even bothered. The one consistent effect that all of these things have is that they cause your radiation levels to rise. And if you've even got like a slither of rad poisoning, it puts this annoying visual effect around the edge of the screen. Which means that all these artifacts are really going to do is chew through your...
I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna say, I kinda
like
it. Is it because I'm not a Divergent? I kinda like it.
Whilst offering up benefits.
Is the way he's talking about this thing on the edges, like you said,
It's
it's
smaller
white
than
and
a
moving.
bee's dick.
I kinda
I mean, look,
like
I'm sure
it.
there's some genuinely useful artifacts hidden out there. Lord knows I tried to
Little
find them, but
particles.
most of the ones I
know.
came across were just kinda useless. And even the good ones from the prior games that have returned seem to have been severely nerfed. Like Moonlight, for instance, which was an outright broken artifact in Shadow of Chernobyl. Now this one more or less gave you infinite stamina, so you could sprint around indefinitely without ever having to stop to catch your breath. In Stalker 2, like, this thing does exist, but it has an entirely different property. What this all results in is that one of the core mechanics of not only Stalker 2 but the entire series really just feels kind of unfun and unrewarding. This brings me on to the other main aspect of the game, which is all the shooting and combat, with at the very least bringing back that kind of hardcore gun porn the series has always been known for.
They're fucking hot.
This means you got a whole bunch of different weapons, all with their various calibers of bullet, along with different upgrade trees for every single one of them. Much like the other games, this isn't a run and gun shooter, and you end up really playing the whole thing tactically most of the time, leaning around corners and taking pot shots at enemies with your limited supply of ammunition. With that realism aspect then completely juxtaposed with the unrealistic mechanic of being able to pop a medkit or bandage up your wounds in seconds. And even on the so-called normal difficulty, I'd find myself having to spare medkits and bandages constantly during combat just to stay on my feet.
Look at the stream morph stick. It is, I like it. I don't know, it's just, I don't know, something to it. How the whole stream said my most ago, like it says, yeah, but you're implying that I look at NSFW art, which I don't. If anything, I keep running away from it. And I decide to play it on better and it's constantly dying. This game. Wait, what is it saying? Sorry.
Enemies with your limping one
I missed the whole point.
unrewarding.
I'm gonna put it again.
This brings me on to the other main aspect of the game, which is all the shooting and combat, with Stalker 2 at the very least bringing back that kind of hardcore gun porn the series has always been known for. This means you got a whole bunch of different weapons, all with their various calibers of bullet, along with different upgrade trees for every single one of them. Much like the other games, this isn't a run and gun shooter, and you end up really playing the whole thing tactically most of the time, leaning around corners and taking pot shots at enemies with your limited supply of ammunition. With that realism aspect then completely juxtaposed with the unrealistic mechanic of being able to pop a medkit or bandage up your wounds in seconds.
Okay, I see now, I see the... Yeah, so the problem is that this guy is too old and he refuses to realize that you want this type of thing, we'll play Tarkov. This Stalker is trying to appeal to a new audience. Back then, sure. Nobody gave a fuck. If anything, they liked it. Not that time anymore. You gotta appeal, at least in the slightest, to the new audience. You want that type of realism? Well, you got Tarkov. I don't think he has to understand the difficulty to bring that sort of realism that's already like half done. Like if he's already suffering this, I don't want to imagine it. They try to make like the concept of like actual realistic. Was that could work the same way though? The people who use Stalker like this? Oh, I don't know. Well, that's even more stupid than that he's bringing up this point. Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, he is probably a Tarkov player. That's why he's complaining about it. He loves that, like, you know, getting shot once on the toe and having to put 5 medkits, 1 syringe, adrenaline, covering his glass face because he got blurry, because he got shot on the toe, change his armor because the one is broken, because he got shot on the toe, and he took the durability of the chest plate. Yeah. Okay.
And even on the so-called normal difficulty mode, I'd find myself having to spare medkits and bandages constantly during combat just to stay on my feet. As far as the AI goes in Stalker 2, like, I wouldn't say it's worse than the previous games, but I'd just kind of say that it's different. Now, in the original games, the enemies would be...
Wow, the AI is a piece of shit! How surprising!
be really clever in the way that they approached any given situation. They'd slowly push on your position if they had the numbers, but it was also common for them to just hang back and hide in a
AI didn't get to Crane.
corner somewhere, trying to ambush
Too
you.
far away.
I mean, yeah, like that kind of stuff could be annoying when it happened, but you can't deny that it was impressive in the way they acted. The inaccuracy and unreliability with a lot of the weapons ended up in these really intense shootouts, where you traded gunfire back and forth, with that final lucky bullet ending up in a crucial headshot that finished someone off. Combat in Stalker 2 though, like, it seems a lot more basic, in the sense that most of your bullets go where you want them to, all of the time. And I mean, that's fine, but it also means that
I don't know to say anything, he just said himself.
you're getting pelted by the enemies a hell of a lot as well. And if you so much stick a pinky toe out of cover, then it's gonna be shot to shit. Just kind of like the whole thing's been reduced to a generic hit-scanning shooter. And combat isn't challenging because your enemies are outsmarting you or using clever tactics. It's challenging because a couple of bullets is going to knock off your entire health bar.
I mean, I think that's what bullets are supposed to do. Now, I may be wrong because I don't have any actual in-battle experience. So this might be inaccurate. But I think that when you get shot, it hurts.
Forcing you to use bandages every 2 seconds to stop from bleeding to death. Just kind of seems like every single little bit of damage you take in this game, like, hits your carotid artery or something, because you start bleeding so often here. The weapon and gear degradation here is also just insane. And I know that the whole series has always been about carrying around hand-me-down weapons that felt like they were held together by duct tape, but here in Stalker 2 it feels like it's on a whole different level. Every single weapon you find on an NPC is completely busted, or at the very least almost broken, which is going to make them prone to jamming. And I've got no problem with this whole jamming mechanic. Every single weapon by duct tape.
No,
but
you're
there's
not
always been
complaining
about
about
carrying
this. You're not
around
complaining about
hand-me-down
this.
weapons that felt like they were held together by duct tape. But here in Stalker 2, it feels like it's on a whole different level. Every single weapon you find on an NPC is completely busted, or at the very least almost broken, which is going to make them prone to jamming. And I've got
Which is literally like in the first game. What do you mean in a whole different level?
no problem with this whole jamming mechanic. In fact, I think it actually adds a really fun element to the combat. It'd just be nice if this at least affected the AI, who can shoot at you for these 10-minute long gunfights without any issue.
Did AI get jumps on like the first game? I don't know if my brain is making like memories, but I think I remember seeing on the first Stalker like enemies getting jumped. Yeah, I thought so. That's the one thing that I'm like, yeah, sure, I agree with you there. I think the enemy should get jammed as well. I mean, thing is, their AI is probably so ass that they couldn't even program this. I do agree with you. I think enemies should jam, because it will add fun. It will add funny moments to happen. Which is also like, it's always welcome, right? You know, you jam, the enemy jams, you look at each other, you laugh. I think that would be pretty good.
But even then, like, the
Visual
stuff
that.
you do find in working condition falls apart so quickly, it's like it's made out of bog roll. There's only a handful of NPCs in the game who can even repair your gear, and even then, repairing stuff becomes so expensive that you're usually better off just not bothering.
Isn't that like in the first game? I think so.
And speaking of that too, there's not even that many people who you can actually offload all your gear to either, making for long periods of time where you're hauling around all of this stuff that you want to sell but simply can't. I mean, this game right here is going to make you loathe the concept of having a weight limit. And I just kind of think there's a difference between vendors being sparse by design, but then it just kind of seeming like they forgot to add in these very important NPCs into an area.
Good. Now run along.
Seems like all the best guns and gear you come across is found during those main missions, but also in a more scummy move, hidden away in the stashes
have a feeling about something. But before I say it, I wanna ask you guys. What is the level of moddability of this game? Is it like easy to mod? Same thing. So you know, my feeling is that, from my understanding, right? Because I'm not like super into like Stalker and everything. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool concept, but like the whole community and all the other stuff, I've never really been in. But I have a feeling that what the devs intended is, since most people like and prefer the modded version of Stalker, like what the community changes, I feel like they just brought the slope and said, it doesn't matter that the game may be a piece of shit, because people will mod it to make it better, and then more people will play. So I think they're trying to rely on the community fixing their game. Because most people play, for example, when a Stalker 1 was the only thing around, most people just play Gamma or like these other like huge mods that are like a bunch of improvements. I play vanilla, but what I'm saying is that most people, yeah, play. I think that's what the developers are relying on. They're probably gonna play the long game by like letting the community mod the game to make it better. Now, this is a theory, in my opinion, what I see and what I think. And that's what I think, that's my opinion. I think that's what the developers are looking for.
You get from
and why like the base game is such a piece of shit, apparently.
The deluxe and the premium editions of the game.
And
I don't know if this was supposed to be an ironic joke, but there's a bunch of stashes in particular called journalist stashes that seem to have the best weapons. I don't know if this is supposed to be some kind of a jab at the perceived lack of skill in gaming journalists, but either way, the stuff I found in some of these stashes was far superior to whatever else I came across in the base game. Still though, as far as the shooting is concerned against the other humans, this stuff is fun enough. It's loud, impactful, and it's violent. And also like too how every NPC in the game has their own unique name, in a very clear attempt to make me feel like a piece of shit for killing them. It's the combat against the various mutants though where it all starts to go to hell.
Good lord, what is happening in there?
Like with all the dogs for instance, which seem way more dumbed down this time. Now in the old games, when you came up against these things, they really did behave like a pack of wild animals. If they were in a big enough group, they'd make a push on the player, but then they'd quickly scatter like cowards if one of them got killed.
Oh my god, man. I just remember that long walk towards the first like actual like city that we did. A long way with a million dogs in the way. Bro, that was something. I remember that clearly. Like they were like it was yesterday.
Breaking formation and running off like a bunch of little bitches. Not only did it make them seem realistic, but it also helped from a perspective. Simply because getting bum rushed by like half a dozen mutant dogs doesn't really make for balanced combat. How does it work in Stalker 2? Well, you just get bum rushed by half a dozen mutant dogs. And there's no real sense of self-preservation to these things at all, as they all just come running at you at once in a completely nonsensical way. Nor do they even really seem to be phased by gunfire. I mean, yeah, like they may be more dangerous, but they don't seem half as intelligent.
We're talking about zombies here.
Fighting the Buras is, again,
well,
also
somewhat.
pretty damn dreadful. Now, the first fight against one of these things is inside a pitch black cave, where it telepathically controls some nearby rifles to fire on you.
Oh, wow. Oh,
And
wow,
for the
that's
first couple
pretty
of times
cool.
I died, I couldn't even figure out what was happening. Like, I thought the game had just glitched out or something. How about the part where you're getting attacked by a controller while you're stuck out in the middle of an open swamp with nowhere to take cover?
It's the upgraded version. Shit.
But by far the worst update here is with the bloodsuckers.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Oh
Because
my
someone thought it would
God.
be a good idea to give these things way more health points and also have them doing this really annoying attack where they lunge at you, knock you on your ass, go invisible, run away, and then just repeat. And because you don't really have any means of effectively dodging these melee attacks, you've really just got to tank all these hits and shoot back as much as you can until they go down. There's a sequence where you got to fight three at once in a dark basement, and I think this might be one of the worst fucking things in the entire Stalker franchise.
Yeah, that's kind of bad. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
And I would be genuinely surprised if this even got play tested. They just seem to rely on these things way too much, and it just seems 9 times out of 10, if you come across a mutant out there in the zone, it's gonna be one of these assholes.
A few moments later.
Got to the point where I would audibly groan when I realized I had to take on yet another one. Because I knew I was about to burn through another half dozen medkits and lose a bunch of my shotgun shells. And yes, I know that's how
Alice is not being.
they behaved in the original games, but I don't know, like you'd kind of hope the passage of time and technology would have allowed them to make these things somewhat more fun to fight. I mean, at least they still look scary, I guess, and they still serve the purpose of making me jump out of my chair every time they appear out of nowhere to give me a colonoscopy. But I think what's most disappointing about all of this is that there's really not that much combat when you break the whole thing down. In fact, I'd say it probably makes up maybe 30% of the entire experience, whereas in the old games it seems like you were getting into gunfights every few minutes. Most of your time here is just spent running back and forth for a mission. Running 5 to 10 minutes across the map to either have a conversation with someone or instead kill them, before then running 5 to 10 minutes back to turn the mission in. Stalker 2 runs on the Unreal Engine 5, and on a positive side, it does have some genuinely great looking moments there, especially with the whole night and day cycle thing they've got going on. There's a lot of great effects here with the way that water looks, the changes in the weather, plus the ways all the various anomalies behave and react when you get near them. The music is subtle and not overbearing, just heightening those moments when something occurs, more or less serving as another layer of ambience. And when the whole thing comes together,
Think about fighting things constantly in the same possibility. No, I was comparing the first game with the second one. In the first one, you have a fight every 2 minutes, or like 3 steps.
it's a really appealing and immersive game. I still really love those moments during the heavy thunderstorms where the wind's howling and lightning's cracking down constantly, even hitting objects near the player. Plus, I really like how all these various little actions now have their own unique animations too, when it comes to drinking, eating, or healing. Plus, I appreciate how you can still just shoot the shit at a campfire with a bunch of other stalkers. It also brings back the emission mechanic from Call of Pripyat.
Listen up, diggers. We got reports of an emission coming, so get to cover.
Where every now and then there'll be some kind of super nasty energy storm, and you've got to find cover in a nearby building until the whole thing blows over. And these seem even more dangerous than before, with the sky turning dark red as if it's like the end of the world or something.
Man, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, whether you're running around in the
that.
early morning with the sun shining brightly, or skulking around in the evening when it's raining and you can barely see where you're walking, you can't really deny that the game once again excels with its
It looks good, man.
atmosphere.
I mean, if you don't stop the image, it looks amazing, dude.
Though
It
I'd
does.
kind of appreciate if someone could tell me if the yellow paint on these ladders is supposed to be a self-aware joke, or if it's just supposed to be rust.
That's just me, though. It's actually pretty funny.
But then on the flip
I
side,
like
for a
it.
lot of the time, it also just kind of looks like every other game you've seen in Unreal Engine 5. Especially when it comes to all these tall trees and grass. I mean, once you've seen one forest in an Unreal Engine game, you've pretty much seen them all. Not sure if too many people remember or even know to begin with, but the X-Ray engine that the original games ran on was pretty groundbreaking for its time, doing a lot of interesting things when it came to the way it all worked. But more than that though, they were unique to the series, with no other games using that engine, giving that original trilogy its own unique look and feel. Those underground areas, particularly when you went through all those abandoned labs, is the stuff that nightmares are made of, and easily the most memorable sections in some of those original games.
I always thought this thing is one of the cool, like when he pulls you in and then back. I don't know. I just always thought this anomaly, guys.
Stalker 2, but just don't seem to quite hit the same anymore. It's just like having this thing running on the same engine that's been used by a bazillion other games makes the whole thing feel so homogenized, and it's definitely lost a little bit of its spark. I mean, just compare the main menu in Shadow of Chernobyl, for instance, to the drab and uninteresting one in Stalker 2. Kind of thing that makes you realize how we truly took it for granted how effortlessly soulful a lot of the games from back in the mid-2000s were.
I said come in, don't stand there.
And it sure ain't helping either that 90% of the map here is just made up of the same looking forests, which results in running past the same looking bushes and trees for 10-minute stints as you hoof down those energy drinks to keep your stamina up.
I want the graphic
Sometimes
so bad
even
here.
longer than that, where you'll be sent out to the ass crack edge of the map for
I
a
don't wanna buy
mission,
YouTube
only to
Premium.
then have to run all the way back. Very rarely can you even run in a straight line either, because of all those random anomalies that are blocking your path. Oh yeah, and by far, the absolute worst area in that regard is the swamps. And honestly, like, this stuff was so soul-sucking. It makes the scene in Neverending Story when Atreyu's horse dies seem like a comedy movie in comparison. And yes, again, I get that the old games did the same thing, but they weren't even half as big
This guy didn't play Dark Souls, I'll tell you that.
as Stalker 2 is, with this one apparently being around 64
know
square
what a real
kilometers in
swamps.
size. And for a game where there's no vehicles and very limited fast travel options, that is a whole lot of running around. People often make fun of Bethesda or other modern games for being loading screen simulators, but goddamn son, at least they give you the option to skip over all that traversal and get back to the actual good stuff. There's going to be people who'll tell you that holding down the run button for 10 minutes, along with popping an energy drink every few seconds, is somehow better than just opening up the map screen, clicking where you want to go, and being there in like 4 seconds.
Bring back some loot next time.
And I do think that it's impressive that the map is so big and packed with all this detail, but if the vast majority of this space is just bush and trees, along with the occasional, arguably useless artifact to find, it really begs the question of like, is this what we needed? You've got to remember that the open world genre really has evolved quite a bit since the Stalker series first came out almost 2 decades ago. And it all just seems kinda weird to me how Stalker 2's clearly made some updates to the formula, but then it also seems weirdly stringent in regards to some of the others. For instance, just like in Call of Pripyat, you can sleep in beds to advance the clock, which is a really handy feature if you don't want to be wandering about in the dark. But then, despite bringing back this mechanic, you can still only sleep at specific beds, instead of, you know, any bed, because, I don't know, I guess that would have been a good idea.
Let me sleep for the love of God!
Or how about adding in like a portable camp or a sleeping bag so you can stay out in the wild? I mean, it's not like the sleeping bag hasn't been a mod for the past 17 years, is it? We're also exploring the zone now, years after the events in the old games, and if the various accents with all the NPCs is any indicator, then a lot of these people from different walks of life have now come into the area.
I'm watching you, chump.
So is it really outside the realm of possibility that some of them would have brought in things like vehicles for faster land travel? How about the fact that this is a 2024 game and I can't climb up ledges? I mean, I'm not asking to be Faith Connors and run around in parkour mode or anything, but surely now I could clamber up something that's chest high, right?
I mean, sure, that's kind of a stupid.
It just kind of harks back to what I said earlier, how this really is a Stalker game through and through.
Cover me! I'll hide!
It's a 2007 game in a 2024 shell. And these kind of things that are going to irk and confuse newer players are no doubt the same kind of things that returning fans are going to love seeing the most. The one thing though that I don't think anyone's going to appreciate is all the weird bugs and glitches, the anomalies that aren't meant to be in the game. With the most common thing I had happening being NPCs or items that would be floating off the ground. Problems with the sound.
There's an exorcism.
Problems with the sound was an irritating and frequent where it's like half of the sound effects just stopped working. And I'd either have to load my last save to fix it or restart the entire game. There was even one point where Skiff's voice sounded like it was coming through a radio when I was talking to someone directly.
I'll go get the inductor you mentioned.
Plus, I've had a few times where I'd be killed and then reload a save file, which would then reset the enemy AI, making them forget that I was even there anymore.
What was that noise?
It also comes with all the accoutrements of the Unreal Engine 5, that being constant stuttering when moving.
Holy shit, man, it took 29 minutes to get to the part where I'm like, yeah, I can agree with a lot of these things.
Across the map. And because they're loading the whole thing at once now, this is a common and immersion breaking issue. Thankfully though, I haven't had like any mission breaking bugs that prevented me from progressing or anything like that, so that's a positive. And GSC have already dropped a 30 or so gigabyte patch even before the game's launched, with another day one patch on the way as well. So hopefully people don't experience the same kind of stuff I did.
About the job you asked me to do.
But still, like I'd imagine it's going to be a bit of a buggy experience for a lot of people. And again, like I get that this is the whole modus operandi of the series, I get it. I bought Shadow of Chernobyl when it first launched. I even got that special edition that came in a metal tin, and that thing was broken to shit when it came out. It's just I don't think that excuse of, oh, these games have always been broken or buggy is really valid anymore.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty pathetic and sad that it's the new trend now. It's supposed to come out, and we're supposed to eat it, even though they are a piece of shit. Like, they just don't make games anymore on release that are... It's sad, man. Every game now on release is a... No, it's cause like... No, it doesn't matter anymore what the genre is. Every game, bro. Every game on release a piece of shit, man. So fantastic. I don't know, man. It's just sad. Especially because games now just keep increasing in price. But they don't fix. It's one of the worst trends. It's toe-to-toe with video games now. Adding like skins to everything. No matter what the game is about. Like, it's skin, yes. But think about the skins. Yeah, yes, don't forget about the skins. Just tested them many times you need to, like 5 years to release? Sure, I'll wait. Because I can guarantee you that even the fucking developers will like appreciate it. Because like, is it the same as stress testing again for like a year or two? Or like putting a shit on the market and then having to work for like 3 months? Having to sleep at the office, just work 12 hours plus a day to fix it on 3 months. They're like having like a year or two, like patience is calmly checking every little thing. No, it's just 3 months. We're gonna pass the 3 months sleeping, eating, shitting at the office, and like 12 hours, 20 hours shifts, like fixing everything on like 3 months. So stupid. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the consumer. It doesn't help the developers. It doesn't help anyone. They're just releasing games to release them. And we keep buying them. So this is never gonna change. And like, sure, you can excuse me a little bit because like I'm a streamer. And it's just like a business expense for... In a way. So like, yeah, I'm like supposed to be like there. I like the Vanguard. But wouldn't really excuse myself too much. I still fall for it. It's just fucking stupid, bro. I hate it. I hate it. It's one of the It's one of the things on the top of my list where I'm like the most pissed about. Yes, don't test the shit. Like they fix it after when there's like 1,000 players playing. By that point, oh no. So you play to play test their games, dude. You do. Oh god, I hate it, dude. So bad.
Considering we're in 2024.
What?
I mean, the same kind of people who defend stuff like this would also be the first in line to criticize the shit out of any other game that did anything similar. And I just kind of feel like if you're going to do that, then you need to apply that same logic to every title. The other argument people are probably going to come back with is that mods are going to save this thing. And yes...
What was I talking about like 20 minutes ago? Again, it's just a theory and my opinion.
That may be the case, and as far as I know, they're going to be prioritizing mod support moving ahead. So at the end...
Maybe I'm right. Who knows?
End of the day, like, there is a whole lot of factors to consider here, and I don't think it's a simple matter of this being either good or bad. And again, like, keep in mind that throughout this game's development cycle, we've had a global pandemic, not to mention the country the game's made in literally going to war.
Not an excuse, I'm sorry. If you put it that way and they don't put the context, sure, I can get it. But this is without context. It's not like their place is gonna get because that gets to your country, like there's a battlefield and you're in the complete opposite side where you have the least amount of like chance to like something to happen. Well, you don't realize that people from the dead team went to the online. Is that an excuse to like release this ASAP? They could have waited. But instead they just chose to like go. They could have waited and made it like an adult experience. I don't, sorry. But like, how much is the game? Well, it's not $80. I'll give you that. But never mind. Well, I mean, you got that, but you don't need to. I'm sorry. Like, the hardship. Okay, not an excuse. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't let trouble. You should have waited. You should just. They should have waited. I don't care. That's just me though. Like people that are like honest about themselves, they're not gonna care. Like, sure, yeah, hardship. It's okay to understand that they had the hardship, and it's cool that they still release the game. Sorry, bro, I don't care. I don't see it as an excuse. I don't. If half of the dead team dies, should have put the game on hold. That's just me again. That's my opinion. I can understand you caring about the whole process and all the hardships they went through. Sure, you can. I don't. I don't see it as an excuse. Apparently it got delayed because of the war? Yeah, it did. But it didn't get delayed enough. That's the problem. If anything, what I could say, it is more excusable than Cyberpunk. That I can't tell you, and I will agree forever. Because I've seen some people like just like I keep this opinion that's very brutal and very unexcusable. I will not side with the people on Twitter that are saying this on release is worse than Cyberpunk. Those people did not see or play that version of Cyberpunk. That is heavily copied. It's kind of like those memes where it's like, I have a similar opinion to this guy, but he explains it so badly that you just don't want to agree with that person. It's just that type of meme. Like, yeah, I don't agree with like excusing this game. So like, yeah, there was war, whatever. Like, no, should have waited. Sorry. Well, you start excusing this one, and then you'll eventually keep going up on this, on excusing it for being a piece of shit on release. I don't excuse any game. No game I excuse if they come out as a piece of shit. Why? Because that's the standard now. So if you let one in, you will let others in as well. And eventually, you'll be like those people that like don't like excuse every fucking game because, oh my god, because the wife of one developer died, it seems like, oh, they just had to release it. No, dude, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. That's me though, again. I don't excuse this one, but I don't excuse any other. $60 on release being this bad? No. I don't care who died. I don't care what happened. Sure, I may look like the bad person here. I may look like, sure, right? You can put me as the bad person, I don't care. I don't excuse this game. Just like I don't excuse any other that comes like this on release and they make you pay $60. I don't care. That's just me though.
And either one of those things alone could have been the death penalty for this whole studio. And yet, somehow they've still managed to pull this thing off. At the end of the day, I don't really see this thing getting rave reviews, nor are people going to really be holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
I just wanted to make my point clear. Because if I didn't, it would just be a shit lack of like, explaining, right? It will be like a shithole, like, oh, I'm just an asshole, that's about it, I don't care about Ukraine, whatever. No, it's not about that. It is not about that at all. I want to say I kind of don't care about Ukraine and Russia, because I don't care about war, or like politics, or propaganda. It sucks what's going on, obviously, like, no shit, right? No shit. It fucking sucks, obviously. I don't care. It's war. Just like all the war that's been going on below me. At the whole, like, Israel, Palestine, all that fucking war. I don't care about war.
Over how much they all love it. But for those few people who don't mind trudging through a swamp at a snail's pace to sell off stacks of AKs and radioactive artifacts before heading off and doing the whole thing all over again, well, those people are really going to find the game they're looking for here. I just kind of wish that overall there was more of a sense that they'd had time to properly dot the I's and cross the T's. Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah, motherfucker. Holy shit.
Yeah, motherfucker.
The face. Holy shit, bro. Goddamn.
Get out of here, Stalker.
Oh, that's about it. I don't know though. Cool. I want to say cool video, man, but it's because it took 29 minutes to get to like the important